Amen. I love that song. Let's go ahead. If you didn't have the outline, make sure you have one. We're on page number 17. It was an outline that I started a couple weeks ago. We've already covered spiritual gifts and heart, your heartbeat. Today we're going to look at abilities, personality, and experiences and how God has used that to shape who you are, that you might be fit for certain types or different types of ministry. And so, page number 17, and before I start there, let me just read a little story for you that has to do with our abilities, all right, our abilities. So, the story is called The Animal School. The animals had a school. The curriculum consisted of running, climbing, flying, and swimming. All the animals took all the subjects. The duck was good at swimming and fair in flying, but he was terrible in running. So he was made to drop the swimming class and stay after school to practice running. He kept this up until he was only average at swimming, but average was acceptable. The others, including the teacher, were no longer threatened by the duck's swimming abilities, so everyone felt more comfortable except the duck. The eagle was considered to be a problem student. For instance, in climbing class, he beat all the others to the top of the tree, but he insisted on using his own method of getting there. He had to be severely disciplined, and finally, because of his non-cooperation in swimming, he was expelled for insubordination. The rabbit started at the top of the class in running, but obviously he was inadequate in other areas. Because of so much makeup work in swimming, he had a nervous breakdown and had to drop out of school. The turtle was a failure in most every course offered. His shell was considered to be the leading cause of his failures, so it was removed. This did help his running a bit, but sadly, he became the first casualty when he was stepped on by the horse. Here's the summation. The faculty was disappointed, but all in all, it was a good school in humility. There were no real successes. None seemed to measure up to others, but they did concentrate on their weak points, and some progress was made. The moral of the story is this. Everybody doesn't fit the same mold. Everybody has God-given abilities and God-given characteristics that are to be used in that fashion and in that form, not to be squeezed into another fashion or form or different fit. So we want to zero in what you're good at, what abilities that God has blessed you with that you might be a blessing to others. And so that's what we're going to cover today about abilities. Okay, everybody is a good fit in some type of ministry. Your abilities is a good fit in that area. If you look at your text or your page number 17 there, in applying my abilities, again, we want to zero in on what you are good at, how you've been gifted in terms of abilities. 1 Corinthians 12:6, we see there are diversities of operations or abilities to perform certain services or ministry. And I want you to underline three words in Exodus 31:3 there. Okay, I'll tell you as I read them. It says, I have filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom. Underline that word wisdom, because that's literally ability or skill. So God has given each of us certain abilities or skills. And it goes on to say, and in understanding. He's given us intelligence in those areas. And then in knowledge, in other words, a cunning, a wisdom to apply your abilities and skills to the ministry or to the place that you are going to be employed or work. And it goes on to say, and in all manner of workmanship or craftsmanship. So God has gifted every individual with a certain ability, and that ability we're going to try to focus in on that we might fit your ability in different ministries. So one of the most common excuses people give for not getting involved in ministry is, they say this, I just don't have any abilities to offer. And that is not true. Nothing could be further from the truth. Everybody has some ability. Okay, just the same as every believer has some spiritual gift, every individual has some ability. So the key, though, in your blank there, the key is matching your abilities with the right ministry. Okay, do you guys already have the blanks on this one? Okay, so page 17, right? The key is matching your abilities with the right ministry. Are we all on the same page? It's from the outline of 2 weeks ago. Okay, you don't have that. Okay, it's from 2 weeks ago. If not, we'll have to just plug along through here and maybe. Okay, there are some in the back. Eddie, do you have those? It's the one with starts on page number 12, not the shape one, but anyway, you're going to need some pens and pencils too, because we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. My goal is to finish all these pages so we can finish with shape and how God shapes you. If you have what that says here, that word shape, that outline, okay, that's something I want you to take home. This is a homework assignment. And everything that we're learning tonight, as well as the things that we've learned in the past few Sunday nights, you're going to take from the outline that you've been given, and you're going to bring it here and put it onto this sheet, the shape personal profile. And so what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to look at it and say, oh, wow, you're gifted in this area. Oh, wow, you have a desire, a heartbeat to serve in this area. And I'll say, wow, you have this experience. I think you might be able to help somebody who's going through the same thing right now. Okay, so I'm going to use this basically as a tool to help match you with the right ministry or the good, so that your personality, your abilities, your heart, your spiritual giftedness will be a good fit in the right ministry that you might be able to serve. If you don't have that outline, raise your hand. We're getting those passed out here. But, okay, if you have any more, Eddie, there's 2 or 3 people up here towards the front. So we're talking about applying my abilities. They're coming. Just keep your hands up. And if we have extras, we'll get them to you. So, applying my abilities. We want to know what your abilities are. Right? The 5 misconceptions about abilities. Some people, again, say, I don't have anything to offer, so I can't be in any type of a ministry. And I'm telling you that's an Italian word, baloney. You have some type of gift and ability in order to serve someplace in the church, okay? Someplace to be a blessing to another believer. So the 5 misconceptions. Hey, Eddie, there's a couple up here in the front. If you keep your hand up, okay? So, number 1, the first myth on page number 16 or 17 about your abilities or skills and talents, that people aren't born with skills. That's a myth. Sometimes, you get so people say, you know what, you can learn anything. And that's not necessarily true, I don't think. But people aren't born with skills. All skills must be learned by experience. I don't believe that's true because, you have children, you have people who are just, you say they've got the knack. It's just in them. I didn't train them. They just have that ability. God-given ability. And you probably can think of your own kids or yourself or your family of origin, and you think, wow, we never received training in that, but my brother or my sister, they were just good. I think of Tammy's sister. She was just good with music. That was an ability that God gave. It wasn't developed, but she developed it. There's a kernel of ability that God gives, and some people have it. You think of athletes or music or sports. You think of athletes like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or any of the great basketball players or football players. You just think, you know what? Now, they don't only had the build, they had the ability. God just they just have it. And so people are born with certain abilities. So don't let that myth that says that people aren't born with skills or ability get to you. Number 2, a second myth, another misconception is those skills which must be learned are learned primarily in the classroom. They're learned primarily in the classroom, number 2. That's not true either. I remember, growing up in my block, in my neighborhood, we played wiffle ball, we played that little cork ball, little baseball with a broomstick. I don't know if anybody remembers that stuff. We called it cork ball. He played with a broomstick. We just played all the time. It wasn't in a classroom. We just played all the time. And so, we could do anything with the ball. It was amazing, but because we did it all the time, and there was some built-in ability, some built-in hand-eye coordination that we just developed it. So yes, those skills which must be learned are learned primarily in the classroom. That's not true. A lot of the abilities that you have are learned outside of the classroom. Number 3, the third myth. If you have a certain ability, you will be very aware that you have them. That's not true. Some people, all of a sudden discover, wow, I'm pretty good at this. And they didn't know it, but they just had that ability innately given to them by God. So all you need to do is determine what those skills or abilities are through some type of identification process. Number 4, another myth. Skills that I use at work are only usable in that environment. I couldn't use them in ministry. Again, that couldn't be further from the truth. Whatever you use at your workplace, you could probably, translate them into ministry somehow. Number 5, the fifth myth about skills or abilities. Most people only have a few abilities. Okay, that's not true. The truth is that many national studies have proven that the average person possesses from 500 to 700 different skills or abilities. You might think of it that way, but we're going to go over some. So what do we need to do? We're going to try to discover your motivated abilities. What do you like to do, and can you do it, right? We're going to look over the list of your accomplishments. That's what you finished from before. We're going to circle all the verbs from the previous exercise that you did. Now turn to the next page, and we're going to look at this listing of abilities here. 26 specialized abilities. There's the ability to entertain. Okay, you say it might be a gift. It could be, but that's the gift of hospitality. But some people might just have that ability to entertain. I'm mixing up abilities here. To perform, act, or speak different types of things. Is it Brother Gunder? What's his first name? Is it Chuck? Chuck. At a luncheon with him a few months ago, I asked about his testimony, and he said somebody was giving a chalk talk. Someone had artistic ability and was doing a gospel presentation chalk talk, and because of that, he got saved. Now, is art a spiritual gift? Is drawing a spiritual gift? It was an ability that this person had. He used it in ministry, and Chuck Gunder gets saved, right? I know some of you know Warren Wiersbe, okay, a famous commentator, pastor. He did a lot of magic tricks and stuff to get people to gather around to minister the gospel to him when he was younger. So God can use different abilities in order to minister the gospel or minister to the church. There's recruiting ability, the ability to enlist and motivate people to get involved. This can kind of overlap with the Andrew ability in the Bible, one of the apostles. He can just bring people in. Hey, here, they want to see you. They want to see Jesus. Here, bring people in. He has that ability to motivate, energize, doesn't have fear, just the ability to bring people to church, to bring people to a Bible study. Okay, you may have that ability, and you know what? You may be a headhunter as a profession. You go and find skilled people to fill a need in certain places of employment. That can be used in ministry as well. So let me just quickly go down the list here. Interview ability. Again, there's wisdom here. The Proverbs says that you can actually, if you're wise, you can draw wisdom out of people by asking the right questions. Okay, if you have that ability, you can go places. In fact, I thought this in the back of my mind as I was studying this. Anytime I meet a pastor who's been in ministry for a long time and I get to eat with them or have lunch or whatever, I did it with Pastor Warren last week and Dr. Eustra a few weeks ago, and I've done it in the past. I'll ask them certain questions. Okay, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in life? What was your biggest failure? What books have you read that I should read? What people do you know that I should know? And so I'm drawing wisdom for myself so I can grow. But their wisdom in them, there's gold in them, there are hills. There's wisdom in there, that soul. And if you have the ability to draw it out, hey, that could be used in ministry. In fact, what I was thinking, that's why I brought this up, was there's a lot of gray hairs in here. Okay, a lot. But what I was thinking is this: because the Scripture teaches that the elders should minister to the younger in terms of training, instruction, life experience. I think I'm going to write those questions out specifically, and let anybody in here over 60 write it down. What was your greatest skill? What was the best thing that you did? And what was the worst thing? How can your experience be poured into the life of those who are younger in the church? Okay, the older men are supposed to disciple younger men. Older ladies are supposed to train younger ladies. And so I'm going to do that one of these days. okay? And you don't have to put your name on it. I'll just put it out there, and then what I'll do is I'll compile it into a sermon. If days should speak, Job says, if gray hairs should speak, if days should speak, what would you say to the younger generation so you can minister to those who have still got a long life to live? How can you minister to the younger generation? So anyway, that's the ability to draw out people. Let me just go quickly down and just read them. I won't read I'll stop every once in a while and read the definition, but artistic ability, researching ability, graphics ability. You know, this winter, this Christmas, we'll probably have a float in the community Christmas parade. So if you've got artistic ability, anything like that, hey, we'll need your help. Planning ability, managing ability, those are always great for ministry. Counseling ability, that means to listen, encourage, and guide with sensitivity, as well as you might add patience to that too. Remember the third point in the sermon last Sunday morning, the theology of man. I can't change people. God can change people through His Word and through His Spirit. And so counseling, that's essentially counseling too. Okay, God's going to have to minister His grace and His Word in the life of the people, and the people are going to have to receive it, believe it, and put it into practice in order for there to be real change. Okay, God doesn't force people to change. He makes it sweet for them to change, sweeter than the honey and the honeycomb, and they're going to have to take it in. All right, so teaching ability, always a blessing in the church. Writing ability as well, editing ability, promoting ability, repairing ability, feeding ability, to create meals for large or small groups. If you have that ability, I want to team you up with either a deacon or a Sunday school teacher. Eventually, I want to promote our Sunday school as a kind of the outreach arm of the church. And so different skills are going to be utilized in different types of that ministry, and I'm going to talk about that a little later. But let's go all the way down. Feeding ability, recall ability, mechanical operating ability, resource ability, counting ability, classifying ability. So there's many, many, many different abilities that are there. You might not know you have them, or you have them. You might not even think that you can use them in ministry, but the truth is you can use it in ministry. All right, landscaping. The two at the bottom group there, public relations ability and welcoming ability. Okay, that would fit right into the greeter ministry. Okay, what it says in there in welcoming ability, to convey warmth, develop rapport, making others feel comfortable. Wow, man, we could surely use that in the church. And you know what? Some of you do it naturally, and that's a blessing, and let me encourage you, keep that up. But some of you, I think you have it. You just haven't pulled the trigger yet. You got to just get out there and walk by faith to do it. Composing ability, landscaping ability, decorating ability, we could always use those. But all these, just walk right down there and say, yeah, I think I have that, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, whatever. What we'll have to do is then once you know the abilities that you have, you transfer it over to your shape personal profile. And again, then it'll help me, it'll help the church staff. We evaluate, hey, we've got a gap here. We need someone to stand in the gap. We need someone to plug in the gap, and then we're able to say, oh, you know what, they have this ability. Let's see how God uses them. Okay, and see if they're a good fit, because we already know they've got the heart for it, they've got an ability for it, but do they have the personality for it, which is our next page. Why don't you go to the next page, page number 19, plugging in your personality. Here's an exercise for you, and I'll give you just 30 seconds to do it. Okay, on the top of that box there where it says plugging in your personality, in the space to the right, write your name and your middle initial and your last name with your right hand. Do it as fast as you can. Go now. Okay? Give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you filled it out with your right hand. Now do it with your opposite hand on the next box. And I'm going to give you 5 seconds. No, I'm just going to take your time doing that. Go ahead. Write your name with your opposite hand in the next box. Steve, this is mine, right? Okay, I need it. All right, so are you done? Did you write your whole name with your left hand just yet? Okay, now I think you're getting the picture. This is exactly why we're doing this. Okay, how does it look? Can you read it? If you read that, that's good. So here's the question, okay? What happened when you tried to do something that was not natural to you? What happened? You felt uncomfortable. Okay, that's number one there. You felt uncomfortable. It took extra time and effort, and you did a lousy job. Okay, it doesn't look neat and tight. You know, it's very, very, very messy. So the same thing is true when you try to minister in areas that are not suited to your skill or your personality. Okay, God has wired your temperament in a unique way, right? This factor is very important, matching you to the right ministry. All right? God has not used a cookie-cutter stamp to bring out His people, all right? He loves variety. You know, you just look around. We're all different. There's no right or wrong when we talk about a variety of people, a variety of temperaments. In fact, we need opposites to balance each other out here, because if they were all me, I'd get bored, and if they were all you, we'd get bored, okay? So God uses variety, and he spices up the church. You know, every kindred, nation, and tongue will be praising God in heaven. Why not here in this local body? And so God uses different temperaments, different personalities. And this is just a rough sketch of a personality scale. It's a self-evaluation. Some of these things are funny here. But let me read that, and then I'm going to go over that with you. It says, although there are many fine, extremely detailed personality assessments available for the purpose of your ministry profile, we want you to consider just 5 aspects, okay? And so we're going to answer the question, how do I see myself, okay? Am I extroverted or introverted? Okay, if you're introverted or you're extroverted, okay, you circle the one that you think you are. The extreme is the 3s on either side, whether you're extroverted or introverted. Let me just give you an example. If you are recharged by being around people, you love being around people and it gives you energy, you're probably an extrovert, okay? If you're drained by people, you're probably an introvert. If you can't stand to be alone, you're an extrovert, okay? Because extroverts have got to have somebody to listen to them, okay, and to communicate. What excites you? What drains you? So I vacillate between the two. You know, I get both. I'm probably a too mild extrovert and then a too mild introvert. It just depends on the week, right? The day of the week. But where are you overall? Okay, are you more extroverted or introverted? Circle the number. And again, you'll transfer this onto your shape personal profile, the one with the piano keys on it. Okay, just and then let's move to the next one. Thinker, feeler. Okay, and these are related, but here's what we're trying to answer in this question. Thinker, feeler. How do you make decisions? Are you like that one, the detective, the facts, ma'am, just the facts, right? Is that all you are? I just want facts. I'll make the decisions. Just give me the facts. I don't care about all that other stuff. Just give me the facts. Okay? You're probably a thinker. Okay? If you're a feeler, you don't make your decisions based on facts. You just have a gut feeling. You have intuition. You're like, yeah, I know what the facts are, but something's not right. You know, you have this intuition that you're more in tune with than someone who's basically the facts, ma'am, just the facts. I think of my own parents. In fact, if you've been married, sometimes you see the opposites in people who are married like that. Some people are extroverts. An extrovert marries an introvert. A feeler marries a thinker. Okay, and they balance each other out. I remember my mom. She's a feeler, and she's self-expressive. She'll just let it go. Very, And my dad's like very controlled, stone face. When I talked about this morning about nonverbal communication. The people that scare me are the people that don't have expressions on their face. It's like they're playing poker all the time. They have no expression. I don't know what that person is thinking, and it's frightful. Okay, but that's the idea here as we're going through this personality profile. You know who you are. You know how God's made you, and your personality is going to fit better in certain types of ministries. Okay. So are you a thinker or feeler? Circle the one that best expresses how you make decisions there. And again, it doesn't mean a feeler never thinks or a thinker never feels. It's just what your tendency is. Mark the side of the scale that reflects your approach to making decisions. And then there's the routine versus the variety. Okay, we're going to answer the question, what kind of tasks do I prefer? Do I prefer predictability? Do I like doing the same thing every day, day in and day out? I don't like new things. I just like what I'm doing. I have my routine, just don't mess with my routine. Okay? The older you get, the more that way you get, right? And then there's the people who just like variety. Okay? They like something different every day. They like some people go to restaurants, they get the same. I'll get the number 4 fried rice, the number 4 fried rice, right? And then there's some people like, hey, let's try this today. Oh man, that was terrible. I'll never do that again. Some people love the variety, and some people love the routine, the safe, and the secure. That does play a part in the type of ministry that you have. Okay, someone who works at the sound desk, pretty much the same thing all the time, right? Someone who works with children, not necessarily the same all the time, right? When you get little children up on the stage, you just can't wait for someone to mess up, because there's unpredictability there. Not that you're looking for them to mess up, they're unpredictable, and to me, it's fun. The unpredictability of life and ministry. So, if you like the unpredictable, if you like variety, you're more of a risk taker. And again, some ministries are more routine, some are not. Some are unpredictable. For instance, if you worked with benevolence or some type of a helping hands ministry, people, there's a variety of people and a variety of needs, and they will, they can shock you, okay? But if you've been in ministry long enough, there's not much that you can shock you. But that type of ministry has different types of routine or predictability. All right, let's go to the self-controlled versus self-expressive. This is where I was talking about, you can read people's faces, nonverbal communication. Some of you are smiling, some of you are stone-faced right now, and I'm like, some of you are thinking, this is not Bible preaching. And you know what? There is part of it here, okay? It does affect ministry. God has given you different abilities, gifts, and temperaments, and those temperaments do play a part in the type of the ministry that you will have. Again, are you self-controlled? Do you like to be in control of the situation, your mood, your words, your actions, your face, your expression? Or are you self-expressive? You're outgoing. If your eyebrows don't move, your lips move up or down, and I can tell if you're getting it or you're not liking it. Okay, so again, if you're a person that is not very expressive, that's very stone-faced and very steady Eddie, most likely you probably won't be a good fit in the greeter ministry, right? If you're expressive, hey, good to have you here. You smile, you're expressive, and you thank people for coming, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It'll be a good fit. All right, and then cooperative or competitive. Okay. This is funny because, I'll say this. Some men in here are in a Biggest Loser contest. Okay. It's a secret, but it's not a secret anymore. But some people prefer the competition. I need somebody to challenge me. I'm like that, okay? I need somebody to run towards the same goal, and we spur each other on. But some people just hate competition, okay? They'd rather have everybody do all the same thing, do it all at the same time, do it all the same way, and nobody's ever fighting, no one ever wins, no one ever loses. They're more cooperative in that sense, and some ministries definitely need that. Right? But then there's some ministries that, hey, listen, I need the competition. I need a goal. I need a challenge. And, if we have a sports ministry, you're probably going to have that competitive spirit. And if you're in that, and you'll be a better fit. If you don't like competition, you're probably not going to be involved in that type of a ministry. So here, that's the idea. That's the picture. Neither of these are right or wrong unless they move into sin. But you got to consider your personality to see if it's a right fit for the ministry that God is going to use you in to bless the church. All right, so let's move on here. Last page, and we'll be done in about 5-7 minutes here. We already talked about page number 20, okay, examining my experiences. We talked about how the Apostle Paul's experience were used in the making of a man and a ministry. God controlled all the experiences of his life. God used the experiences of his life for the sake of the gospel. And that's the idea here. Let's look at the verse, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good of them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose, Romans 8:28. God allows you to go through trials. God allows you to go through certain experiences, even the bad experiences of life, for a reason. Look at the next verse, Philippians 1:12. The Apostle Paul says, "But I would you should understand, brethren, that the things which happened unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel." Paul is in jail, and he's writing this, and he's saying, these things that happened to me, God's using. God's using for the gospel. Okay? I'm in jail, and God's using it. I don't want to be in jail and have God use it, but for Paul, that's what happened. He's in jail, and God's using it for the furtherance of the gospel. Paul's experiences are being translated, formed or conformed or remade into ministry, and that's what God can do with you. So you're blank there. One of the most overlooked factors in determining the ministry God has for me is my past experience, particularly my hurts and problems I've overcome with God's help. And since our greatest life message comes out of our weaknesses, not our strengths, we should pay close attention to what we've learned in the school of hard knocks. God allowed you to go through trials and storms. You made it through, and now you're going to be able to minister to somebody else because of it. All right? And so God never wastes a hurt. He wants you to be open to ministering to people who are going through what you've already been through. And that classic passage is 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. Blessed be God, even the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforteth us in all our tribulations, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. So God allows you to go through hurts, through storms, through trials, and then when you get through the storm and the trial, you're able to use that experience to minister and bless others. That's the past experience. And it doesn't have to be a trial. It could be education. It could be profession, your past employment. God can use all your experiences, whether they be painful experiences, educational experiences, ministry experiences, spiritual experiences, times where you thought, wow, this is a life-changing event in my life, and it's going to totally change the way I look at life and ministry. There's different events, different times in your life where you can say, you know what, it was at that time, that experience in my life where I knew God was there and things were going to be okay. And I built my life on that past experience. I made it through the storm, and I'm stronger because of it. And because I made it through the storm, that person is going through the same storm I've gone to. Let me go and minister how God ministered to me to that person. Okay, that's the idea of God using your past experiences so that you can be used in ministry. All right. Oh, you know what? It's going to take longer than I thought. I do want to finish this. Next week, we're going to have a missionary here. It'll be in the bulletin, but I forgot to write his name down. Do you remember his name? Eric Stovall. Eric Stovall, Light to Germany. He's going to be here next Sunday night. I think he's with Baptist World Mission. And so he'll be here next Sunday night, so that's why I'm going to finish this tonight. We're going to try to get this done as quickly as we can, okay? So page 21 here. Serving through your church. Now, all that we've learned, spiritual gifts, hearts, abilities, personality, and experiences are now coming down. It's coming to a head here, and this is what's going to happen. All that you've learned about how God shapes you individually, now, because He has shaped you this way, what are you going to do about it? Okay? How are you going to exercise what you've learned and translate it into ministry? Okay, so the ministry statement of philosophy here. We believe about ministry. Salvation in Jesus Christ automatically includes a call to ministry. Okay, every believer is created, saved, called, gifted, authorized, and commanded to minister. So if you're saved, you're a minister. You're gonna minister something in your local church to the body. Okay, number 2, ministry is the heart of the Christian life, but by love serve one another. It's synonymous with ministry, serving. Number 3, function. Function follows form in ministry. In other words, how God made me determines what He intends for me to do. God has uniquely shaped each individual for a specific ministry. Number 4, God has given all His children gifts that can be developed and used in ministry. Everyone is a 10 in some area. Everyone has something to offer. Developing and using your gifts is an act of good stewardship and of worship. So you're a minister. You need a place of service. You cannot be a spectator. Do not sit on the sidelines. Those people who sit on the sidelines and are spectators, they become critics, and critics become negative, and negative people spread negativity. You've got to have an outlet for your service. Okay? Number 5, you discover your gifts through ministry, and instead of discovering your ministry by identifying your gifts. In other words, you start going out there and serving people, your spiritual gift and ministry should bubble up. Number 6, the evidence of the right match between my shape and my ministry is fruitfulness and fulfillment. Fruitfulness and fulfillment. Somebody will come up and say to you, whether you were teaching or whether you were a greeter. And by the way, as I've talked to people who visited for the very first time, okay, I'd either give them a call or visit them. They'd said, listen, your church was the most friendly church that I've visited. I've visited many. This was the most friendly. So I commend you for that, and just keep up that work. Keep up that good work. It's been a blessing to people who visit. Okay? All right, so fruitfulness and fulfillment. And then number 7, membership and maturity are prerequisites to ministry. Okay, so you can't sing in the choir unless you're a member. Okay, you can practice, but, and maybe sing occasionally, but ministry requires membership and also maturity. Okay, therefore we require class attendance or commitment to these 2 areas before serving through our church. Let me just give you a little bit background on that. In the future, I'm going to have new membership classes. And what I did in the past was I would do a discovering my membership, discovering my maturity, spiritual disciplines in the Christian life, and the 3rd phase would be discovering my ministry. Okay, and that's what I'm going over with you, so you know what will happen with new believers and new members eventually as they come into this church. The 4th phase, or the 4th step up, is discovering my mission. That's learning how to evangelize, learning how to share your faith. And we'll be doing that next month, okay, but in a different venue or format. I'll let you know about that as we go. But all right, let's think about the body of Christ here. Page 21 down in the middle. It says that God intends for ministry to be performed through the context of the local church. Membership includes a commitment to ministry. If you're going to be a member, you're going to minister somehow. You cannot be a spectator, okay? And it doesn't mean you have to be right away, but as you fill in this spiritual giftedness sheet, this shape, personal profile, we're going to know where your gifts, abilities, personalities, and experience lies, and so it's going to be easier to plug you into a place of ministry. Okay, that's for your good and God's glory, for your fulfillment as well as fruitfulness. Number 2, the Holy Spirit has provided our church body with all the spiritually gifted people needed to do everything He wants done. Our task is to discover, enlist, train, and support these people in ministry. That's what we're doing through this process. Number 3, the church is to operate on the basis of spiritual gifts rather than elected offices. We don't elect people to ministries. In other words, we don't elect somebody to be at the sound desk. If you have the ability and the training, hey, we can work towards that end. Number 4, the church is a body, not a business, an organism, not an organization. So the church is a body, not a business, an organism, not an organization. Therefore, we streamline the structure in order to maximize ministry and minimize maintenance. Hey, let's just do what we do with excellence in ministry. Number 5, mobilization of every member as a minister is the key to balanced growth of the church. Every member is to be a minister. Okay. Number 6, the greater good of the whole body must always take priority over the needs of any single ministry. There is no place for turfism in God's family. When we were at a larger church, different ministries would reserve the bus or reserve the gym or reserve this room or that room. and there was a lot of competition. There was a lot of, hey, no, you can't use that. We're taking that to camp. Well, you didn't write it down. You didn't put in a request for it, and so it's our van. We've got it for that. So there's that, hey, listen, it's not about turfism. It's not just your individual ministry. I remember we had some lady who was very defensive about nursing ministry. That's not here, okay? The nursery ministry. And she was like queen dictator of that ministry, and nothing could happen to that room or stuff in the room. And you know what that was? That was turfism. It was competition. It was, you can't use this, And there is a place for, there's a right order for right things. Okay? There's right ways to do certain things, but we have to be careful that there is none of that turfism or competition. All right, wow, let's move quickly. I'll just, let's go to number 2. I'll give you the blank. If you don't have it, you can read the rest yourself. The objective of the ministry development is to mobilize an army of ministers. That's what we want to do. We want to train you for ministry. If you haven't been trained, we want to plug you in a ministry if you don't have one. Okay, again, church is not a spectator sport. You need to be participating in one way or fashion. Let's jump to accountability. Number 1 there. We become what we are committed to. Therefore, we encourage growth and commitment to Christ and His church. Everything rises or falls on leadership. No ministry can exceed the commitment of those leading it. So those of you who are Sunday school teachers, those of you who have some type of leadership within the teaching fashion, hey, listen, you are a leader. Okay? Take that seriously. You are teaching, and you are responsible to shepherd that small group of people. That is serious business. Take it seriously. Okay? God has gifted you and given you the opportunity to do that. Number 4 there. There's going to be periodic reviews. We do what is inspected, not just what is expected. Okay, we want to do our best. If there's something that needs to be done, if we can tweak a ministry one way or another, we'll try to make it the best that we can with the resources that we have. Number 1 about training. Every leader is a learner. Okay, you've got to keep on pressing on and growing. The moment you stop learning, you stop leading. Again, I'm not going to, you can read. I know you can read, so I'll let you read whatever doesn't have the blanks, okay? But number 4 there. Ministries have life cycles. If a ministry isn't meeting a need anymore, we will give it a decent burial. And I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon in any ministry. I don't know enough, okay? But I think all the ministries that are going on now have a purpose and have a fruitfulness. So that's just the blank that I was reading, okay? And then number 7 there. Your primary ministry commitment should be in the area where you're gifted. Listen, if you're gifted in a certain area, if God has given you a beautiful voice or an okay voice, why not sing? Why not get trained and develop it, okay? The second sentence there. Your secondary ministry includes serving in any area of the body where you are needed, okay? You may not be able to do an all-day church work day, Saturday coming up, but maybe you can put in an hour or 2 of, stuffing envelopes. I don't know what we have, but in the near future, one church had what is called a volunteer bank. In other words, they had different tickets about jobs that needed to be done, whether it would be stuffing envelopes, stapling, organizing papers, or Sunday school curriculum. And some people who, live farther away, they couldn't come in on a regular weekday, but they could take that ticket and say, you know what, while I'm here on a Sunday, I'll stay in between church and I'll fill in that gap for you. And that way I can serve in that way because I can't be here on a regular basis all the time because I live so far away. So, if that's you, okay, maybe then you just fill the gap for this little short work order. That'll help so that way you can have a venue or opportunity to minister. All right, so number 8 there. You are not ready for ministry until you're willing to serve anywhere. Okay, that should keep you humble. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Well, guess what? That's the need right now. Can you help? 23, page 23, the top, we expect excellence in ministry, not perfection. The Lord deserves our best. I remember reading a story of Dawson Trotman, his biography, and I remember they were fixing the front doors of the church, and they made it beautiful, but the back door was not done very well. And Dawson said to the guys who were working, he said, you know what, it's the Lord's house, the back door is just as important as the front. Okay, and we can't have that. We don't expect perfection, but we do our best. I remember hearing somebody at a college, look, when you're walking on the church grounds, right, and you see a piece of paper, garbage, okay, pick it up. It's God's house, God's land, pick it up. And it doesn't mean you go get a big garbage bag and then you start walking around the whole property and going, woe is me, I'm picking up garbage. No, if it's on the way, you pick it up. It's the Lord's house, right? You just, it's there. So have that attitude. Oh, here's something that I learned, one of the first things I learned in ministry at a large church. If you ever, and I was the youth pastor at the time. Anytime you use a room, you leave it in the same condition or better than it was when you entered. Okay? And that is a good way to approach ministry. Okay? Just remember that. This is God's house. You're using it. Leave it better off than it was when you entered in. All right? So we encourage creativity. A failed project does not mean a failed person. There are no wrong people, only right people in the wrong ministry. Hey, as we plug people in different ministries, somebody's going to stumble, somebody's going to fall, someone's going to mess up, but hey, that's part of the learning process. We may learn, you know what, that's not a good fit for you. Let's just wait and see where the Lord will direct you next. All right, and the last thing, I won't go over it, but basically at the end of each phase of discipleship, again, discovering my membership, discovering my maturity, discovering my ministry, the person who would go through the class has a chance to say, I've learned this, Pastor, and I'm with you. I'm committing to do what I've learned. And it's not a binding agreement, it's not a contract, it's just an opportunity for the person to say, I'm all in. And I want to let you know, by God's grace, I'll do what you would have me to do. All right, any questions? All right, well, let's pray. Father, we do thank you for your love and grace.